Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome again. And what we got going? We're halfway through the month of September, bringing us, to 49 days before the election. And who's counting? And it being a Tuesday, I'm thinking my sister's probably on the line. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, good. You always keep me in some suspense. Never quite sure if there's going to be silence there. But so, hi, Suze. How you doing?
I'm good. And you?
I'm okay.
Good.
A little stuffy today, but I suppose that's fall allergies. God.
I think so, yeah. I noticed the other day, for no good reason, suddenly my eyes were itching.
Yeah.
And I go, well, what's that? There, something in the air, but it might be smoke. You never know.
Well, that's true, too. Wow. Yeah. God, where to begin, huh?
I don't know. I have always now for more years than it makes sense to me because we've been doing this so long together. I have awakened early that morning and read newspapers, several, so that I'd have an idea of whatever it is you might talk about. I haven't been able to do that for a very long time. I mean, I try, and I just go, yeah, no, Nan, no, yeah, no, yeah, no. Then I read, some advice column, and then I play bridge.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. If you had read the New York Times today, excuse me, a woman wrote in about the same problem. And I mean, how she said that she's in very good health. Her every time she has her blood pressure taken, the nurses smile at her and say, wow, nothing to worry about there. And how she had gone to her doctors and they took her blood pressure and she sat there smug as hell, and it was high. It was in the, hypertensive range. And she thought, what the hell? And then she realized that on her way to the doctor, she had been listening to the news. Really, that was it. She said, since the news is, nothing short of apocalyptic, that there's no way that our bodies don't respond to that. And she says, she's tempted to tune it all out, but then she decided she could not. She says, I'm working on a way to stay informed without inducing a stroke. And that is what we all have to figure out for ourselves, because we have to still remain engaged. But it is true. I don't think that we have to subject ourselves to the daily drip, drip, drip of terrifying new stuff that just keeps piling on, 10 times a day.
I checked the weather just out of curiosity because, it's supposed to be 80 here, and maybe our mother could swim or something. And I put on the radar map and all of these horrifying swirls over Mississippi.
Yeah, right. There's more more of those swirls in the Atlantic Ocean right now, I guess, than ever. There's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, by the way, I was just talking to somebody, and I think I told you, this is a grade school friend of mine from Green Bay, who lives right there on she goes down to the beach all the time in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. And I did text her last night and said, "Are you getting out of there or what?" She said, "No, we're hanging here." And she and her husband have been through this so many times. she was simply exhausted from battening down all the stuff they have to do. But she figured, I mean, they're smart about it now. They sort of feel they're going to be all right, but you never know. So this particular one, I'm just, I have one person in my head, Heidi. I can't believe Heidi right now is hunkered down.
She is. It's just a massive red.
Yeah. Well, I hope she'll be okay. I mean, she and her husband were, sounded so plucky and even funny about it. And I thought, wow, these are people I want to be in a bad situation with because they were not panicking. They were,
they'd go down in the hold of the Titanic singing drinking songs.
Yeah, I think so. He was saying, there's a few loose tiles on the roof, and I'm sort of hoping maybe they blow off maybe, a nice little portion of the roof so that I can, it can get covered with, and they're just talking about having enough ice cream on hand, and I don't know. So there's that, and then the horror of this, the fires. It's really something, and the thing is, what this woman is saying, that the problem is that all of this is not going to change if Joe Biden is elected. It's not Joe Biden's election would not reverse global warming. It won't stop the geyser of poison spewing from right-wing media. It won't force Facebook to rein the poison in. And she said this election is our only hope for positive change, but it doesn't offer a miracle cure to COVID-19 or anything else. So she says,
of course not.
Yeah, so we got to find some way.
No, here's what it offers. That's one way of looking at it. Of course not. What it offers is the hope of a rational response to this calamity that our life right now, as opposed to what we have now. So talk about hope and therefore change. This is actually that election.
Yeah, that hopey changey thing.
Yeah.
She said she's going on an outrage diet. She says,
I threw 1,080 punches last Tuesday after we hung up.
Okay, good. That's a good way to get rid of the outrage. But she's thinking of, an outrage diet means, a diet means you don't stop eating. It just means that you eat more wisely. So she's trying to do the same. And every time she feels outrage, she's trying to turn it around to resolve. I resolve to do something today to make things better. I resolve to, this and that. I do think people are really struggling to find a way. And I was seeing on Twitter this morning that people, because the weather is getting cool, that for a lot of people that is really, really depressing, because they're thinking, oh my God, we're all
going to be locked in.
Yeah, we're heading into winter. And people are, just really, the mental health of collectively of the population of this country is really in bad shape, If you know anyone who's in good shape, I think they're...
If you know anyone that's in good shape, here's the problem. They're living on they're QAnon. They're living on a diet of lies and white supremacy. Those are the only people that seem to be happy these days. They're living their lives.
No, they're not. No, but Susan, no, they're not happy. They're scared. They just created a different, boogeyman. Everyone's scared.
They're certainly
scared.
Out there
We're
living
scared.
Their lives and partying a lot.
Yeah, they're scared of us. We're scared of them. Jesus Christ, I don't know. So, okay, here's what I'm most scared of today. Okay, now that we've all, said this, I'm going to immerse you in, if you haven't heard this one. When I first read this last night, my blood ran cold, because some of the things we're starting to hear and see are just blatant Germany 1937. They're just
yes,
blatant.
they are.
If you know the history,
and there's a lot of white blonde women that are very attracted to it.
Have you? But the thing is, do you know that Hitler and his ilk at that in the 30s, they weren't a majority of the German population. They were, pretty much sort of maybe even less than our lunatics are now. It's just that the 60% of Germans couldn't get their shit together, couldn't act in concert, and so don't think for a minute that a determined minority with a squabbling opponent cannot succeed, cannot win, right? Now, the good news is that the Democrats, who are often squabbling amongst themselves, have at least pretty much for this election, right, agreed to get behind a guy that for most people wasn't their first choice.
No, but Bernie's already, Bernie's beginning to squawk a little bit.
Well, his people are, and a lot of the younger people are, but they're on board to, get. But then, yes, the squabbling will begin. Who knows? All I know, I want to tell you about this guy. Have you heard of Michael Caputo?
Yes.
His current job, which he got relatively recently, he was put in charge of messaging, essentially, for the Department of Health and Human Services, which, of course, is the department that under which is the Centers for Disease Control and the Food and Drug Administration and the National Institutes of Health, and our entire structure for dealing with the pandemic. So this guy is the head of messaging. He's the one who, in the last few weeks, articles have popped up about him pressuring scientists at the CDC to change what they were saying about the prospects for vaccines or for this or for that, trying to spin stuff so that it was helpful to Trump. Well, he did a Facebook. I guess you can go live on Facebook, do some kind of a Zoomy thing.
Yep.
Yeah. He did that, I guess, on Sunday.
It's called Facebook Live.
Okay. He did a Facebook Live. And, of course, it shouldn't surprise you that this guy did, at one point, have a talk radio show. And here's some of what he said. Just going to give you a little. Let's see. I want to just get the quotes. Okay. If you carry guns, buy ammunition, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be hard to get. This is after he suggested that his life was in danger. At one point he said, you understand that they're going to have to kill me. And unfortunately, I think that's where this is going. This is after he warned that there are hit squads being trained all over this country to mount armed opposition to a second term for Mr. Trump. He predicted that Trump will win re-election, but Biden will refuse to concede. And that will, of course, lead to unbelievable violence. And here's his quote. And when Donald Trump refuses to stand down at the inauguration, the shooting will begin. The drills that you've seen are nothing. He calls the drills anything where there's been some violence. He then goes on to talk about how he goes on this thing about his life being in danger. He said, my physical health is in question. My mental health has definitely failed, he says. And then he says, I don't like being alone in Washington. There are shadows on the ceiling in my apartment. There, alone. Shadows are so long.
Yep.
Okay, so we got people now openly fomenting this, what we've been terrified of, that there will be this violence after the election, no matter what the outcome. He's saying if Trump wins, there's violence. If Trump loses, there's violence. And he sounds deranged.
Yeah, he sounds pretty nuts, but not to a certain group of people. They're just nodding and going, yeah, shadows, man.
And this dovetails with Roger Stone, who should be in prison, but is out because of his commutation by Trump. He was heard saying this weekend that that Trump should declare martial law if he loses the election. And the thing is, Trump, as you know, told in a Fox News interview with, I think, that awful the judge on Fox, the woman, Perot, or whatever her name is, about the gunning down by federal agents of the suspect in the shooting in Portland. A guy who was a suspect but had not been arrested, and federal marshals showed up and just gunned him down. And Trump told her that's the way it has to be. There has to be retribution when you have crime like this. Now stop and think about this. Crime like what? Some protester being killed? Because when 2 protesters were killed in Kenosha, there was no retribution against that killer. He was instead held up as a hero by Trump and the others. So clearly they're saying, Trump and his people are just saying, we're just going to start shooting people whose politics aren't right. The only difference between the guy who was dead in Portland and the little wimp in Kenosha who's going to actually have a trial, which the guy in Portland didn't get, is their politics. One's on the left, he's dead. One's on the right, he's not. And in that same interview, when the president talked about retribution, not justice, retribution, he was asked what he would do if the Democrats riot after he's reelected. And he said this, quote, "We'll put them down very quickly."
when we're all marched off to the vet, we're going to be put down. That's a nice.
No, we'll just be mowed down. I mean,
yeah, I know.
These, I don't even. So this is why people are needing
6 Valium with their morning coffee.
God Almighty.
Actually, not Valium, Xanax.
Yeah, it used to be Valium. Now it's Xanax. But this is just getting more and more terrifying if you're, still plugging away and paying attention, which, by virtue of this job I have to do.
Well,
but
you
I think,
anyway. I mean,
I know you sort of do. You can't really quite get away from it. But I know a lot of people who are truly not listening, not looking anymore. And
on a hopeful note, or maybe it's a note of desperation.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court? What?
No, I ordered 3 Biden-Harris signs, and our mother has relented. Permission granted.
Well, we should tell you that I was stunned to hear on a recent phone call with my mom and Susan that Mother refused to let Susan put up a Biden sign in the front yard. And I was so stunned, but you could hear I was stunned.
Mm-hmm.
And there I started screaming at my 98-year-old
No,
mother.
she says, we've never done that. I'm afraid to do that. We've never done that.
She said, that was it. She said, I'm afraid. And I thought, afraid? Jeez, Mom, it's your right. What are you talking? What are you afraid of? I mean, the worst that could happen is someone will take it. You think they're going to come and murder you because you put up a Biden sign, for God's sake?
Right. That's why you order multiples.
Yeah, but that's why she was that fearful.
Right. If they take the first one, I'm bringing my boxing buddy in the front window.
So well, good. I'm glad that you got, because.
Well, I started to discuss this with her because those of us that have actually run for office really are firm believers in the lower tech parts of running bring the greatest real results. And so signs have tremendous positive and negative effect. If you go through a neighborhood and all you see are Trump signs, you get scared and worried. And signs breed Trump signs. For years, Democrats haven't put out signs the same way Republicans do. Democrats have to put out their signs with the same, confidence. And what do you mean you're scared to say to me that you're a Democrat? Because that's what they do. Their signs just bully. We've got to fly our colors. We've got to put up our signs. We have to smile at people and give thumbs up as we walk by. So I noticed on my walks that I was so much heartened every time I saw a yard that had any kind of positive signage, is what like a BLM sign or a no hate here sign or a we believe sign, and then followed by Biden Harris and you see that they sprout each other, that where there are Democrat signs, people don't put up Trump signs.
Well, we were just talking, as we talked about this yesterday, because there's a guy in Pennsylvania who's got a rental truck full of Biden signs, and he's driving all over the Trump-loving parts of Pennsylvania and giving people these signs because he totally understands what you just said, that you just get deflated driving from Pittsburgh to Philly when all you see is Trump, 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 Trump. And that has an impact. It has an effect. It's why I live here in a liberal part of town, and there's tons of Biden signs, and in fact haven't seen a Trump sign yet. as you say, it takes then a brave Trump supporter to show his or her colors. And people have to look, if we're not willing to be brave in that respect, just putting a goddamn sign out.
Exactly. And honestly, just explaining this was what changed her mind. I said, we don't have a lot of power. The only power we have is to stand up and be visibly counted, and not be shamed by what is the only, as far as I'm concerned, moral stance. So, up is going, and she says, "You're right. Let's get some signs." So I ordered them that morning, and she goes, "Are they here yet?" And I said, "No, Mom. I mean."
So she'll be out there hammering them in. Hey, you're supposed to put a lot of glue on the edges and even glitter, because if someone tries to take them, they're covered in glitter. They can't get off. Just saying.
Okay.
I mean, there are ways to sort of discourage. And because the lawn is so long, put up at least 2, right, at a time?
Well, yeah, it's a double lot. You're allowed to have one on each. I can put one on each side of the driveway.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And
I'm glad.
I'm also just going to put them in the middle of the yard, because they'll have to come up. That's what people are doing. If you want to come that close to the front of my house, well, come ahead.
Yeah, and you don't know if I have a Ring doorbell.
And you don't know if I'm taking your picture or not. You're damn right.
So Josh writes, I just heard on local public radio that our hazy conditions are from the smoke from the western fires. Although I'm looking, I don't see haze here. But...
Well, see here, if you go on radar, there is absolutely no cloud cover. If you look up in the sky, it's gray. It's very weird, and there are no clouds. It's just gray. It's smoke. And I think that explains why my eyes are itching.
Well, can you imagine if you're there? God almighty. So, speaking of courage...
Will my tomato still on the vine come out roasted tomato?
A slight smoky.
A slight
smoky aftertaste. Yeah, actually, you could make them something very coveted. So I just want to note something that I've been meaning to note for a long time, and reading today about how that Russian opposition guy who Putin tried to kill by poison is now out of a coma, and I saw a picture of him in his bed. He looks like hell, but he's and the doctors say they have no idea the negative effects of the poison on his body, going forward, as they say. But it didn't kill him immediately this time. And this guy said, "I'm going back." And I was thinking, wow, see, we're afraid to put a bumper sticker on our car in a democracy still, kinda, that doesn't have a history of killing political opponents yet. And here's a guy with the courage after an attempted assassination by his government, to go back. And it reminded me of the women in Belarus that I had wanted to acknowledge. Those Belarus people who are out there, and still, it's been almost, 3 months, I think, taking on a brutal dictator pal of Putin that is totally female-led. 3 young women were heading that. And one of them was actually a candidate in opposition. She fled the country after the farce of an election that she lost. The other fled at some point too for her life. The third, a woman named Maria Kolesnikova, disappeared was snatched off the street. And I thought she's dead. But no, she reappeared the next day, surrounded by goons from the government who had taken her to the border with Ukraine and told her she's going to Ukraine. And there were two other opposition people with her, two guys. They went across the border as ordered. She took her passport and ripped it into pieces so that she couldn't go, and turned and started walking back into the country that is determined to, I'm sure, kill her.
Yeah, just pure I mean,
unbelievable
what it looks
courage.
like to fight for, for what you know to be right.
Be willing to die. These are people that are truly extraordinary people. And one of the men who did walk across the border, who witnessed it, said she is very brave. Yeah. So I just want to say she is very brave. Speaking of brave women, I came across something that I did not know of, and I just want to share it. You remember at 9/11 when the towers had been hit, when the Pentagon had been hit, it was known that there was they knew there was another hijacked plane, and they knew it was probably heading toward D.C., and it was. And the Air Force scrambled two fighter, jets, and their mission was to find that plane and to take it down. And the thing is we were so ill prepared that we did not have available planes outfitted for that kind of immediate response. So she, by the way, was the first. So a woman was. There were two planes that scrambled. One piloted by the first female F-16 pilot in the 121st Fighter Squadron of the D.C. Air National Guard. And she jumped into that plane, and that plane was not loaded. It was not, there were no missiles on it. There was no way that she could shoot this other plane down. The only way she could take that down was to be a kamikaze. So she went up there, and the other guy was up there, and they were flying toward what ended up being, the Shanksville plane. And they were talking to each other. The only way they could take it down was to fly their planes into it. And they decided one would take the wing, one would take the tail. And that's what they were going to do. And the guy said, he said, I thought, what if, could I possibly use my ejection seat just an instant before my plane hits? And he said, probably wouldn't have worked, but that's what I was hoping. And she had thought the same thing, and she thought, no, you got to make sure that you're going to hit. Did you know? And what they said is they didn't have to be kamikazes that day because the women and men on that plane
did it for them.
Yeah.
Saved their lives. Yes.
But I had never heard that story. That they were up there. They were heading to the northwest.
The story's sort of worse than that. I think there were orders to shoot down. They didn't know who was what, and if any plane that wasn't, down when they were told to was going to be shot out of the sky.
Yeah, but they couldn't shoot anything out of the sky because I'm telling you, Susan, the jets
they
had
have
up.
Any planes to do it.
They didn't have any ammo. They didn't have anything on the ground ready to respond.
Well, someone should have told Cheney that when he gave the order.
And then after the plane went down, she ended up still in the sky that all day, and she ended up, I think, being the one who shepherded the president's plane. Remember, he sort of went into, I can't remember where he went into, an undisclosed location that day.
Right.
So here's the other weird thing. Her dad was a pilot at United Airlines at the time. And she knew he'd been flying East Coast routes all that month. And she, the whole time, was considering the possibility that she was going to take down his plane. God. She's never talked about it until, I guess, just recently, which is why this story was here. She said, I genuinely believe that was going to be the last time I took off. If we did it right, that would be the last time. And she did know the possibility that her own father could have been in the cockpit.
Yeah, losers and suckers, these people, huh?
Yeah, real losers and suckers. By the way, I'm looking at her. She is just beautiful. She looks like Farrah Fawcett. Is that her name?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that sounded like a very weird name. Farrah Fawcett? Yeah,
oh, that was her
name. Okay, so I did want to share that because I had never heard that. And speaking of good reporters, this the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, who he's the one who broke the story about Trump using that term, suckers.
Right.
And he's got a amazing piece. I mean, I would read it. It's very long, but if you can Google The Atlantic this September 14th, Goldberg's new piece is about Alexander Vindman, who no longer wears a uniform, sucker that he is. Mom
told me he was Jewish. I had no idea he was Jewish. He is Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
A Jewish sucker.
Yeah.
He is he just flat out lays out everything. He was there. I mean, he saw everything, and he talks about Trump without a doubt being Putin's useful idiot, and that's what he is.
Yep.
And so anyway, it's a long read, but I would, Susan, he came, his father brought him here and his twin brother when they were little guys, in 1979.
Yeah, when everybody
he had his mom had died in the Soviet Union, and he had these twins and another boy, and his dead wife's mother. And this was during the period when American Jews were really putting a lot of pressure to let Soviet Jews get the hell out of the country. You may recall. I remember when I came to Pittsburgh, there was a sign on a synagogue on Forbes Avenue that said, "Save Soviet Jewry," Jewry.
Right.
I remember I was thinking to myself all the time, every time I saw it, I thought, I can't imagine how many people drive by that and think,
what that looks like.
No, what do we care about saving Soviet jewelry?
Soviet jewelry for?
Because, I mean, what is jewelry? We don't think of, I never saw that word. So that's how they got out. God. Anyway.
Well, it made sense the second that she said it, and you're right. That's there was a huge group then. I can remember I was living in St. Louis at that time, and St. Louis is always a huge hub for whoever is resettling at the moment. And there were a large group of Russian Jews that came over at that time. Later it was
too.
Bosnians. Yeah.
Yeah, here too. That's when they came, because that was just when. Yeah, it was.
Like, yeah.
Well, yeah. So those were two that did, and of course he and his brother have both been bullied out of further service to their country, a country they are fiercely, they are willing to die for, much like, the fierceness of converts to a religion. Immigrants invariably have such an appreciation for the country, and that's where their patriotism lies. So you can imagine how he was stunned by what he saw and by what happened to him.
Yeah.
So, did you and Mom watch football on Sunday?
I did, I don't usually watch football, but Mother, I was in one room, Mother another, and she kept running out to double check to make sure that I was in fact watching. So,
as was your duty.
It was a requirement. But I sort of liked it with no people in the stand.
Nah, it seemed very odd to me. But,
I thought they were. I don't know. I don't know.
I find I just can't. I don't care anymore. But
I don't really care
I
anymore.
Did watch. I did watch
I watched
the Packers
last night,
and I watched the Steelers.
And last night I watched
what?
Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, Jesus, Susan!
I haven't watched Dancing with the Stars in at least 85 seasons. I stopped when they started putting Republicans on.
Sean Spicer and people like that.
I just couldn't do
but
it.
Wait a minute. So what losers do they have on now?
So this time I actually only watched it because it seemed entertaining to me. They have, for example, a St. Louis rapper, Nelly, is on.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Not very good. They have Johnny Weir, who is hysterical. Do you know who he is? He's the figure skater that does commentating. Yeah. The
very flamboyantly gay. Yes, flamboyantly gay, and he'll win because he's got to be a great dancer.
There are so many good dancers. I have to actually look it up. It was for a first. And then I never watched it, but they built up to the grand finale of this woman from Tiger. What that show? Tiger.
I don't know that show.
On Netflix.
The Tiger guy person.
Yeah,
the woman.
yeah. So the woman
that
he accuses of murdering her husband or whatever.
She's on.
And if ever there was an old white broad that cannot dance and shouldn't try, it was her.
Well,
and that was it. But it was good for Nellie because he made him look a whole lot better. But there's a bunch of there's a football player that was really good, and then there's this guy who I can't even pretend to know who he is, because he's modern day famous. Oh, I think he became famous for falling in love with a woman on the internet that didn't exist. And then making a television show out of it, and becoming so sweet and endearing. He's just this sweet nerd. He's happily married with 2 kids, but he comes out and turns out to be Fred Astaire. I mean, and who's he? He's just some nerd. So he's fun to watch. I mean, there's actually fun. If you are looking for something mindless, totally apolitical, and the only terrible thing they did was fire Tom Bergeron for pointing out that they were ruining the show. So now we got Tyra
Jesus,
Banks.
Susan, what you watch on TV is beyond me. Anyway,
I know.
we have
I only watch crap. Okay,
we
go
have
ahead.
we have a caller. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning from wonderful West Virginia again. This is my.
Oh.
And I was just going to say, in a previous life, many years ago, I was once a sucker because at the tail end of the Vietnam War, I enlisted in the United States Navy, and what I did, I was an enlisted man, so my rate, my MOS was aviation fire control technician, and that wasn't putting out fires. I was an avionics person. I fixed missile control systems on fighter aircraft, the old F-4 Phantoms and the newer F-14 Tomcat. And what the thing is if you had, oftentimes when we were out at sea, we would often have the Soviet aircraft flying overhead, the Russian Bears, they called them. These were these big turboprop bomber aircraft that used to follow us all around the Mediterranean when I was in the Navy. And what the plan was, we would launch our alert aircraft, and they would have missiles on them that have AIM-9s. They were heat-seeking missiles, but if the Russian aircraft didn't fly the course that we wanted them to, the plan was to make it look like a mid-air collision. One of the aircraft would come up, and one would fly above the plane, the Russian plane. One would fly below, and one would come up, and the other one would come down, and basically collide with the wings of the Russian aircraft. That way, it would look like a accident, a mid-air collision, and we wouldn't have shot it down. But the Russians knew what the rules were, and I guess we knew what the rules were. But that's what they were doing back in the 1970s if the Russians wouldn't fly the course that our fighters wanted them to. That was the plan.
Well, they're still up to it, They're still buzzing around all over the place, as are, I guess, the Chinese too. I don't know. Wow.
But that was back in the Cold War days, and unfortunately, unfortunately, we won that one. Remember that wall coming down and all that stuff. And now Putin's back at it again.
Yeah. God help us. Hey, I just read that there's an ad that was put out for Trump that talks about, some digital ad that talks about, support our brave military. It doesn't say support our suckers and losers, but the planes that they use in the video are Russian MiGs.
Well.
Yeah, well.
I saw one. I saw a MiG-25 overhead carrying a Trump banner just the other day. I wouldn't be surprised, though. That's the ironic thing about it.
That's true. Hey, thanks for the call from beautiful West Virginia. I appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye. Goodbye. Bye. Hey, Jonathan just sent me something, and I think we got to play this. I'm going to play this sight unseen, okay? Okay. God help us. I'll
Good
get
luck.
Yeah, right. Now I tell you, I'm looking at a screenshot, and it's of Chevy Chase when he was young. So this is Saturday Night Live, and he's doing the update. Okay.
Okay.
And I think we're going to see Gilda Radner do her, where she's a confused person. And I did not know this, but this might be really good. So hang on there. Hang on. I'm hoping. Here we go. Here goes nothing.
Weekend Update recognizes its obligation to present responsible opposing viewpoints to our editorials. Here to reply to a recent editorial is Miss Emily Litella.
What's all this fuss I hear about saving Soviet jewelry? Now, what makes Soviet jewelry so special? Will it be worth more in a few years? Why, with prices the way they are today, all jewelry will be worth more.
Okay, I'm gonna cut it out, but that's so there you go. I wasn't the only one who thought that. We have another caller, I believe. Hello.
Never mind. This is Clarence from Canonsburg, letting everybody know.
Hey, Clarence.
Jeez. I know. I've passed out. Clarence. Hi.
Can't sleep, Clarence? What's your problem?
I actually have no problem. I'm sitting here listening to the show, and I said, you know what? I'm just good. I was waiting for you guys, somewhere I can bring in a bad pun or something, and
yeah,
it just was nowhere to do it, except for the jewelry thing. I actually remember that skit, the whole and everything else, and
you do? You do?
Yeah, I actually remember that skit. Yeah, when you said it, I said I can remember. Like I said, I remember that skit. I can remember during the '90s, and I'm calling the show, and I'm talking about people blaming everything on the juice, right? And I was talking about O.J. Simpson. I was saying the juice.
The juice, right? Right.
I was going, why you're saying juice, right?
Why is everybody blaming everything on the juice,
Well, that reminds me, wait a minute, about being
roast beef on
juice. Yeah, and I was in the cafeteria at Northwestern University my freshman year, and she said, "Do you want juice on? You want juice on it?" And I said, "I want Jews on my roast beef."
I'll have 2 Protestants and a Catholic.
Is it kosher juice?
Oh dear God! All right.
So, the reason Susan on Facebook once challenged me to a low contest. Who has
what?
the lower voice?
Oh, the lower voice.
Okay, I don't. This is not one of my good days, though. I'm rather high today.
Yeah. Oh, you're rather high today. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what it is.
God, you two, take it somewhere else. Honest to Pete, just.
I had posted this. I forget the name of the a cappella group. I think there's like 5 or 6 African American women singing a cappella, like wading in the water. And
oh shit.
Yeah, Sweet Honey and the.
Is that Sweet Honey?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Okay.
But nobody got it. The reason why I posted it was the that flotilla of Trump supporters singing.
Going down.
Right, going down.
So, but the bass voice or the lower end of the voice was she stands out, and it was just really good. And
they're wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I've been listening to a lot of their stuff lately. I think I look, and I'm not exactly the religious person, but I grew up on gospel music.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Sweet Honey in the Rock, right?
Sweet Honey in the Rock, and their live performance is all over the place, but it's just never failingly incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but I'm not in good voice this morning, Claren. But sometimes I can really go. I can sing bass now.
I can sing bass, mother sang tenor. All right, let's stop it.
Okay. I was going to
Enough.
sing "Waiting in the Water, Children," but I'm not going to do that.
Well, that was good. Well, I
yeah,
can't
that was
do
good, but Susan, you can't get lower than that.
No, I can't do that. I'm not even going to try. I'll clear my throat.
He's got a gender advantage. You know, male voices are generally lower, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I have to say that more often than not, on the telephone, people say yes, sir, to me.
Well, Clarence, you made it.
And I have to thank you all too. Thank you for the stuff that I'm getting from the.
Oh,
band.
You're welcome.
So.
You're welcome, and you earned it.
Yeah, thanks. Right. Have a wonderful life.
You too.
Well,
you too.
Don't be a stranger.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm back stuck in the house. I'm done with what I was doing before, hopefully, and so.
Oh, good. Well, maybe people were missing you. Just saying.
Yeah, but people worry. They do, especially in these times. Did something get you? So you got to check in every once in a while.
Well, I have to check in here, but there's certain places you can find me.
Well, that's right.
All right, you're out of here.
All right.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay.
Goodbye.
So just so people understand, Clarence is, I'm sure everybody knows, is an incredible caricaturist, and I was gifted by my son and daughter-in-law with a Clarence original of my grandchildren. And everyone who sees it wants something similar. So as a result, he's gotten a lot of business out of from all over the United States. I keep introducing him. He keeps getting emails from me saying, Clarence, I'd like to introduce you to so-and-so.
Well, that's great. That's good.
Yeah.
And you didn't say Mom stole your gift.
Well, she did. She did.
I love it. I want it. And she raves about it for like weeks after she saw that. Every time I would talk to her, she'd start raving about Clarence, that he was a genius.
That's right, and she wants it, and so I've just decided it can live here. It can live in Green Bay. Yeah, sure. And sure. I can even probably make her a copy, and she wouldn't realize it, and just put it up, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
But this is, I have to say, Mother does tend to show her only child side every once in a while, and that's how it shows up. It's her, I want it. And you just go, okay. I've lost 3 pairs of shoes, two mugs designed by my nephew, and now this piece of art.
Lou just sent me something, and it's just a question, and says, do you wish coffee? And I thought, what? And then I read it like this: Jewish coffee. Jewish coffee.
Ah.
So apparently Lou has been in it. Whatever. So I can see a waitress coming over and say, Jewish coffee?
Jewish coffee?
No, I'd like Protestant coffee, please, as you said. Now, Henry wants us to get away from all this nonsense and says there was a ruling from a federal judge here yesterday, Susan, that is just mind-blowing. It is... he said that almost all the things that our governor put in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see it?
We're an overreach.
We're unconstitutional. That people have the right of free association, and so if 5,000 people want to, get together.
I mean, that's you do know that's just such total bullshit.
Yeah, no, I do. But so this is because these cases have been brought all over the country. No other judge has decided this way. This guy is a friggin' fool appointed by a friggin' fool. Yeah, this is one of the guys that they packed in the federal judiciary. His name is William Stickman IV. And he writes, "The liberties protected by the Constitution are not fair weather freedoms, in place when times are good, but able to be cast aside in times of trouble. There is no question that this country has faced and will face emergencies of every sort, but the solution to a national crisis can never be permitted to supersede the commitment to individual liberty that stands as the foundation of the American experiment." So here he's a libertarian, you can tell. He's just a flat-out libertarian and sees individual liberty as trumping, the social in a pandemic. So you cannot take action in a pandemic because everybody is free to do whatever they want to do. Oh dear. Oh dear. It'll be overturned. Meanwhile, however, Henry writes, what does this ruling mean for Pennsylvania? If his actions were unconstitutional, does this mean that today all restaurants can open at 100% capacity? Well, they're appealing it, but yeah, right now I would think some restaurant could open up. And, I would think it's up to each.
I think, I don't know. I think
why
the mayor could the mayor could immediately put in place. No, sorry, you can't open here. Maybe the governor can't make a blanket statement, but right now I'm saying you still can't. And then they would have to sue him.
Sue them. So
here's the other thing: the people that are out unmasked, doing whatever they want, are already out doing whatever they want. The people that aren't going to go anyway aren't going to go anyway.
That's right.
I don't, open up. No one's going to go. I've said from the beginning.
Only Trump voters. Trump voters will go. Fine.
Right.
So except they go other places too.
Locked up forever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Gee willikers. All right. Well, Susan, I saw that Wisconsin is one of, all those upper Midwestern states are now the hot spots.
Well, because
what's driving
that? Tourism. Everybody I know has been in Wisconsin in the last 3 weeks, coming in from Chicago, Missouri. They're all going for how we started out. That the summer is coming to an end. The Midwest winter is looming. And the tourist season in Wisconsin should be at a close. There are more people up in Door County and up on Eagle River, in the central parts of the state, northern parts of the state. It's pure and simple tourism. When I go out and about in Green Bay, to the extent that I do, which is to say that on the days that I don't have the groceries put in my trunk, I do go in because I know when I can go in. I go to a drugstore every once in a while, usually not in, and I went in to get a flu shot, and I went to a grocery shop. Every time I go, they aren't allowed in without masks, as the policy of the store. And I just don't feel unsafe because there simply aren't that many people. But I know I go by and I can see people going into restaurants. I can see people shopping.
Oh yeah, they're out and about all over here.
They're just out and about. I had the 2020 version of Lunch with My Friends. I had a Zoom call with some of my old St. Louis friends yesterday, and one of them, who seems to find herself impervious to the virus for some reason, reported how she needed to go to this shop and that store and this store and that store, and then at the end of it, her car seems to have broken down, so she calls her friend, who is totally quarantined, to come rescue her, and said friend does. And I said, what do you mean she rescued you? You're like Typhoid Mary. You've been in 7 stores in the course of this conversation. You know, it's just amazing the difference in the way people.
Well, I know people who are they're out every day running errands and stuff, and they're fine, and they feel like, you know, they're masked, they're protected, they wash their hands, and I don't know. People have different.
I mean, I
don't think that's terrible.
That too, and I've taken precautions, and I am careful, and I do what I need to do. But even that, I just think it's wise to limit until we know what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
it appears to be for another year.
God damn. Okay, we're way over time.
Oh no, I gotta go box. Okay.
All right, you go. You go hit the crap out of somebody, and I'll
keeping me healthy. Thank you.
Yeah,
very
I'm
much.
sure.
That was a great gift, dear sister.
I'm very happy that you enjoyed it and are using it. Good. All right, Suze.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. Bye. And as for you guys, I didn't get to the obit I wanted to share. That'll have to be tomorrow. Murph the Surf. Dead at 83. What a story. All right. Be smart. Be safe. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.